Today, we're diving into a strategy that could really change the game for your CPA firm. We're talking about how to scale for tax season without getting stuck in that endless, stressful hiring loop. All right, let's jump right in. All right, if you're running a CPA firm, this question probably feels, well, a little too real, right? That feeling of being stretched to the absolute limit, deadlines are breathing down your neck, and there just aren't enough hours in the day. It's the story of tax season for so many, and it's exactly the problem we're going to tackle today. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big dilemma modern CPAs are facing. Then, we'll jump into a smarter way to scale and all the perks that come with it. After that, I'll walk you through how the whole process actually works, and we'll wrap up by talking about what it really means to be a future-ready firm. All right, first up, let's really dig into the problem. What exactly is this modern CPA's dilemma? Well, you could say it's like a perfect storm of pressures hitting you from every single direction. And it's never just one thing, is it? You've got compliance rules that get more complicated every single year. Clients want everything done like yesterday. There's a genuine shortage of good accountants out there to hire. And on top of all that, the cost of just keeping the lights on keeps creeping up. It's a really tough spot to be in if you're trying to grow the old-fashioned way. And if that wasn't enough, the job itself is totally evolving. I mean, clients aren't just looking for someone to file their taxes anymore, right? They want a strategic partner, a business advisor, and that's a fantastic opportunity. But it's an opportunity you can only seize if your team isn't completely buried under a mountain of basic compliance paperwork. So that leads us to a much smarter way to think about growth. What if, instead of just trying to throw more bodies at the problem, you could expand your team's capabilities strategically? And this is the big idea right here, offshore tax preparation. So what does that actually mean? It's basically about partnering with a specialized team of pros. These are qualified experts who live and breathe U.S. tax law to handle the real heavy lifting of tax prep. They might be in another country, but they're working to the exact same high standards as your own firm. So, what kind of work are we really talking about here? Well, think about all those tasks that are absolutely essential, but maybe don't need that face-to-face client meeting. We're talking about the grind of preparing individual and corporate returns, all that meticulous data entry and reconciliation, and the routine compliance stuff that, while it's super important, can just suck up hundreds of hours from your best people. Okay, so you might be thinking, why is this becoming such a big deal? Well, let's break down the real, tangible advantages that are making so many forward-thinking firms jump on board. First up, and this one's a game changer, faster turnarounds. It all comes down to a really clever use of time zones. Just picture this. Your team uploads all the necessary documents at the end of your workday. Then, while you and your team are at home, sleeping, a whole team on the other side of the world is busy preparing those returns. You walk into the office the next morning, and boom, a huge chunk of that work is already done and waiting for your review. It literally creates a 24-hour work cycle that can just supercharge your turnaround times. And that speed leads to this incredible strategic shift. Before, your highly skilled, expensive local team might be bogged down with data entry. But with this support, the whole dynamic flips. They're suddenly freed up to focus on the high-value stuff, the client strategy sessions, the business advisory services, the work that actually grows your firm and makes your team feel way more fulfilled. And of course, let's talk about the money. The financial impact here can be huge. Just think about all the costs that come with hiring a new person full-time. You've got recruitment fees, salary, benefits, more office space, another computer, more software licenses. It adds up fast. By partnering with an offshore service, you get access to top-tier talent without all that overhead. We're talking reported savings of up to 50 or even 60% on the direct labor costs for these specific tasks. Then there's the incredible flexibility. We all know tax season brings this massive but temporary tidal wave of work. Now, instead of scrambling to hire and train seasonal staff who might not be up to your standards, this model lets you instantly scale up your capacity when you need it most, and then, just as easily, scale right back down. It's basically capacity on demand. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What about quality? What about accuracy? And that's a totally fair question. But here's the thing. Reputable offshore providers have this down to a science. They use these multi-level review systems and super standardized procedures to make sure every single return is checked, double-checked, and is fully compliant with U.S. regs. Honestly, in a lot of cases, this can actually lead to even better accuracy. Okay, so this all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But how does it actually work in the real world, day to day? A lot of firms worry about losing control, but the whole process is designed to be super collaborative and to keep you firmly in the driver's seat. The workflow is actually a really simple four-step process. First, your firm securely uploads the client documents. That's step one. Then, the offshore team gets to work preparing the returns. But, and this is the most important part, the work comes right back to your team for a final quality review. That's step three. And only after you give the final sign-off do you file the return. You see, you maintain 100% control over the final product and every single client interaction. You know, when you really look at it, this is so much more than just a clever tactic for tax season. It's a strategic shift that really positions your firm for the future of the entire accounting industry. It really brings to mind that old saying, the challenge isn't to work harder, it's to work smarter. That traditional model of just throwing more hours or more people at a capacity problem, it's just not sustainable anymore. The firms that are really going to win in the long run are the ones building these smarter, more agile systems right now. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Take a hard look at your current processes, at your team's burnout level, and your real capacity for growth. Is your firm just set up to survive another tax season, or is it actually built to thrive in the years to come? Thanks for tuning in.